Alice looked at me with a mean expression after I told everyone I was leaving my job. Instead of saying anything back, I just stared back at her quietly. We had been talking about how the company was trying to save money by cutting some jobs. Alice and Tom both seemed to think it was a good idea. A week later, my phone wouldn't stop ringing with calls from the company. When I answered, the boss asked me sharply, "Who are you?" I couldn't help but laugh at the question. I introduced myself as Tiffany Trevino, a 55-year-old who had been working at the company for 34 years. I explained that I handled paperwork for busy bosses, especially dealing with taxes. I was proud of my work, even though it was a lot to handle, especially with only some help from another person. Dealing with Tom and Alice had been getting harder. Tom, who was younger than me and now in charge of taxes, had become really rude since he got promoted a few months ago. Even when I tried to stand up for myself, he didn't care. He just told me to look in the rule book and warned me not to do anything unnecessary. Alice, who worked with Tom, also joined in being mean to me. She said I wasn't doing my job well and made fun of me for not having a higher position, even though I turned one down before. But I kept doing my work the best I could. Things got worse when Tom left me with a big pile of work he was supposed to do. He didn't seem to care that it was a lot for me to handle. Then Alice left too, laughing at the mess she left behind. It felt like they were trying to make me quit my job because they didn't like me. I realized they wanted me to leave because I knew more about taxes than Tom did. He wasn't very nice, and Alice only stuck with him because he liked having younger women around. The shallow way they thought about things made me feel really uneasy. Alice's mean behavior wasn't just because she didn't like me personally. She was trying to impress Tom, who was in charge of checking how well the tax department was doing. Despite all these difficulties, I had to keep on top of my work, including preparing tax documents for the companies I was assigned to. It looked like today was going to be another busy day. But then something unexpected happened. I was asked to go to the president's office. Our company had a new leader because the old president got sick suddenly. The new president, who was the old president's son, didn't know much about how things worked here. When I got to the office, I saw Tom and Alice there looking smug. The atmosphere was tense, and then the president dropped a bombshell. He wanted me to quit by the end of the month. I was shocked and asked for an explanation. It turned out that Tom and Alice had accused me of lying about how much overtime I worked. They said I claimed to work way more hours than I actually did. The president seemed to believe them because they didn't report any overtime, while I supposedly did a lot. But the truth was, I was only doing all that extra work because Tom and Alice couldn't handle their own responsibilities. I tried to explain this to the president, but he seemed unsure. He didn't have any proof against me, but he still thought I was working too slowly. So, he insisted that I resign. It felt like my decision didn't matter. He had already made up his mind. It was hard to accept leaving a company I had been a part of for 37 years, especially knowing that my hard work had gone unappreciated. As I left the president's office, Alice couldn't resist making a rude comment about me quitting. I didn't say anything back, but I felt a mix of anger and sadness. Tom joined in, agreeing with the decision to cut labor costs and accusing me of taking advantage of overtime pay. Seeing them talk happily together made me wonder about the process of handing over my work to someone else. I made sure to say proper goodbyes to my clients and set up appointments to introduce them to my successor. Since I couldn't meet with the president again, I wrote letters to inform them of the change. A week after resigning, I finally had some time to relax at home, but my phone kept ringing with calls from the company and even from Tom and Alice's personal phones. Reluctantly, I answered, and the president asked me again, "Who are you?" It felt like no matter how much I explained, they just didn't understand. In response to the president's urgent inquiry about who I was, I replied mockingly, "Just an unemployed lady who resigned from the company, nothing else." The president then explained the chaos that had unfolded since my departure. He pleaded for my immediate return, revealing a sense of panic in his tone. Reluctantly, I rose from my seat and made my way back to the company. Upon my arrival, I found Tom and Alice waiting, their faces noticeably upset and dark circles underlining their weary eyes. Surprised by their drastic change in appearance, I inquired about what was happening. Tom glared at me and revealed, "Since you left, we've been bombarded with calls to stop transactions, not just from your clients, but also from prospective companies we were planning to introduce." Alice echoed the suspicion, expressing dissatisfaction at the thought of me resorting to underhanded tactics. Their haggard appearance suggested the toll of handling cancellations. While I had not manipulated the clients, I had a hunch about the reason behind the transaction halts. Considering the inevitability of cancellations, I mumbled my thoughts aloud. Tom, however, accused me outright, insisting I had orchestrated something. He demanded I go to the president's office immediately, forcefully escorting me there. Upon entering the president's office with Tom and Alice, the president greeted me with a direct look in his eyes. Tom declared, "President, I brought her," with an air of authority, while Alice hurriedly followed suit. Ignoring their accusatory tone, the president questioned me about the abrupt halt in transactions after my departure. I took a deep breath and explained, "Our clients don't need us to manage their taxes. There are tax accountant firms that offer cheaper services. They continued with us because of me." Tom snapped back, questioning my self-worth, and Alice taunted me, both challenging my value to the company. Undeterred, I elaborated on my unique approach, offering tailored tax-saving strategies that resonated with our clients. Tom dismissed it as inefficient, arguing that our manual-based operations were more practical. The president sighed deeply, recognizing the fundamental difference in our approaches. In a serious tone, he said, "Actually," signaling a crucial revelation or decision to follow. I received a surprising call from my father, the former president. It turns out that some clients who had stopped transactions went directly to Dad to negotiate on my behalf. I hadn't anticipated clients going to such lengths for me. Dad emphasized that the tax department thrived because of my contributions. Not only did I manage my clients efficiently, but I also supported my colleagues, clients possessing knowledge that even Tom couldn't match. Dad disclosed that if I hadn't declined the promotion, I would have held a higher position than a department head by now. The current president expressed regret with a pained expression. Alice appeared shocked, probably grappling with the idea that I could have been her superior. The president apologized for making me resign initially and asked if I would consider revoking my resignation. According to Dad, I was indispensable to the company. While I appreciated the change in the president's perspective, it was a lot to take in. I hesitated to accept the president's offer at first. Tom interrupted our conversation, visibly upset and protesting the president's decision. He questioned why I was chosen over him, while Alice echoed his sentiments, praising Tom's leadership and expressing disbelief at the preference for me. The president then sternly addressed them, revealing that since my resignation, numerous complaints had been received from the tax department suggesting they had been shifting their workload onto others. Tom's face turned pale as the president exposed the fact that he had been pushing the preparation of client declaration forms onto subordinates, including Alice's work for multiple clients. The president pointed out the irony considering Tom had accused me of being a salary thief. Observing Tom and Alice's pale expressions, the president continued by revealing an alleged leak about their romantic involvement. Tom struggled to defend himself, claiming he was merely mentoring Alice as her superior. However, the president produced receipts from the accounting department indicating dining expenses filed by Tom. Confronted with evidence, Tom, sweating profusely, was unable to provide a convincing explanation. Alice, too, turned ghostly pale as the president accused them of neglecting their duties, inflating expense claims, and violating company policy by having an affair in the office while being married. In a calm and straightforward manner, the president declared the termination of their employment effective immediately. Tom and Alice tried to resist, promising to retract the receipt claims and pleading for their jobs. "I have a family," Tom desperately pleaded, attempting to reverse his termination. Alice echoed his sentiments, carefully expressing her fear of being fired and promising to apologize to me and others for burdening them with work. Sensing their desperation, I offered advice. "Why don't you stop resisting? It's undignified." Tom glared at me, retorting, "Shut up. What would a single person like you understand?" I sighed, reminding him, "Tom, you were the one who got me fired. It's just karma. What goes around comes around. Why don't you take some responsibility and reflect a bit?" Frustrated, Tom looked away while Alice bit her lip in distress. Aware of more details about their misconduct, I turned to the president, asking with a smile if I should share them. Tom and Alice frantically tried to stop me, fearing further exposure. I issued an ultimatum, warning them that wrongdoings would eventually come to light, urging them to face reality before it worsened. At my word, both Tom and Alice collapsed to their knees, and the president decided to fire them on the spot. Later, I revealed more about their misdeeds, including Tom faking business trips to spend days with Alice and their insidious tactics of harassing disliked employees into quitting. Despite my attempts to help those employees, Tom and Alice's strategies were relentless. They repeatedly reprimanded and pressured employees out of my sight, often assigning sudden tasks with tight deadlines. The resigned employees had initially asked me to keep quiet, but since they were now happily working elsewhere, I decided it was time to speak up. The president, furious at my revelations, expressed anger about cutting Tom and Alice's final salary. He planned to thoroughly investigate past inflated expense claims. Tom, with tears in his eyes, thanked the president not to cut his salary, fearing the impact on his family. As the truth unraveled, Tom's affair with Alice came to light, leading to Tom's divorce. The two now face claims for compensation in the divorce lawsuit, marking the consequential aftermath of their actions. I became aware of the situation when Tom reached out to me seeking assistance in persuading the president to reconsider their firing. Alice and Tom found themselves in dire straits despite their efforts. They struggled to secure new jobs in the tax industry. The industry's close-knit nature meant that word of their misdeeds spread rapidly, making potential employers hesitant to hire them. Desperate for income to cover divorce compensation and living expenses, they resorted to day labor at construction sites, a stark departure from their previous office roles. Alice would often call me in tears, pleading for help. "Lily, please help. I only wanted a better life, and I never truly liked Tom," she would cry. However, I couldn't ignore the fact that their predicament was a consequence of their own actions. Many, including myself, had been impacted by their behavior. I reminded Alice that the consequences were a result of her choices. "You can't unring a bell," I told her firmly. Facing hardships was the consequence of her decisions. Alice's despair echoed through her protests, but despite her regrets, the outcome remained unchanged. As for me, I chose to distance myself from the chaos of the corporate world. Despite the president's pleas for my return, I declined. Once told to resign, I had no desire to return. Instead, I found solace in assisting at a friend's tax office, supplementing my income, and enjoying a more relaxed lifestyle. In the future, I entertained the idea of starting my own office where I could serve my clients without the constraints of corporate bureaucracy. In my own space, I could fully dedicate myself to my clients' needs as a tax accountant. I aspired to be on equal footing with my clients, providing service without superiority. This marked the beginning of a new chapter in my life, one filled with excitement and opportunities to pursue what truly mattered to me. My second life had just begun, and I eagerly anticipated the journey ahead. Elsewhere, as I reflected on the events that had unfolded, I couldn't shake off the sense of responsibility that lingered within me. Despite the turmoil caused by Tom and Alice's actions, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of empathy towards them. After all, They were once colleagues, and despite their faults, they were human beings facing the consequences of their choices. As I delved deeper into their situation, I realized the complexity of their predicament. Their struggle to find employment in the tax industry was exacerbated by their tarnished reputation. The whispers of their misconduct echoed throughout the professional circles, making it increasingly challenging for them to secure meaningful employment. Despite their flaws, I couldn't turn a blind eye to their plight. Alice's tearful pleas for assistance tugged at my heartstrings, reminding me of the fragile nature of human resilience. It was a stark reminder that even those who have wronged others are deserving of compassion and redemption. In the midst of their turmoil, I found myself pondering the broader implications of their actions. Their downfall served as a cautionary tale, highlighting the importance of integrity and accountability in the workplace. It was a sobering reminder that ethical lapses could have far-reaching consequences, not just for the individuals involved, but for those around them as well. As I navigated through my own journey, I couldn't help but contemplate the notion of second chances. Despite their missteps, could Tom and Alice find redemption? It was a question that lingered in the back of my mind, a testament to the intricacies of human nature and the capacity for growth and transformation. In the end, I chose to focus on my own path forward, embracing the opportunities that lay ahead. As I immerse myself in the world of tax accounting, I found renewed purpose and fulfillment in serving my clients with integrity and dedication. It was a journey marked by resilience, growth, and the unwavering belief in the power of redemption. As I embarked on this new chapter of my life, I carried with me the lessons learned from the past. It was a journey defined by compassion, empathy, and the unwavering belief in the inherent goodness of humanity. And as I looked towards the future, I did so with a sense of optimism and hope, knowing that each new day brought with it the promise of new beginnings and endless possibilities. In the aftermath of the tumultuous events, I found myself grappling with a myriad of emotions. The revelation of Tom and Alice's misconduct had sent shockwaves through the company, leaving behind a trail of broken trust and shattered reputations. As I reflected on the series of events that had led to this point, I couldn't help but feel a sense of sorrow mingled with a tinge of empathy for my former colleagues. Despite the grievances they had inflicted upon me and others, I couldn't shake off the lingering sense of humanity that resided within them. They were not merely villains in a story, but flawed individuals grappling with their own demons and insecurities. In a way, their downfall served as a poignant reminder of the fragility of the human condition, a sobering testament to the complexities of human nature. As I navigated through the aftermath, I found myself pondering the broader implications of their actions. Their misconduct had not only tarnished their own reputations, but had cast a shadow of doubt over the entire organization. It was a stark reminder of the importance of ethical conduct and accountability in the workplace, a lesson that reverberated far beyond the confines of our office walls. In the midst of the chaos, I couldn't help but wonder about the concept of redemption. Could Tom and Alice find a path towards reconciliation and healing? It was a question that weighed heavily on my mind, a testament to the inherent capacity for growth and transformation that resides within each of us. As I sought to make sense of the events that had unfolded, I found solace in the wisdom of introspection. It was a journey of self-discovery, a process of unraveling the layers of my own humanity and coming to terms with the complexities of the human experience. In the quiet moments of reflection, I found clarity and purpose, a renewed sense of determination to chart my own path forward. And so, as I embarked on this journey of self-discovery, I did so with a sense of optimism and hope. For amidst the chaos and uncertainty, there lay the promise of new beginnings and endless possibilities. It was a journey marked by resilience, growth, and the unwavering belief in the inherent goodness of humanity. As I looked towards the future, I did so with a sense of anticipation, knowing that each new day brought with it the opportunity for growth and renewal. And as I embraced the challenges that lay ahead, I did so with a steadfast resolve to live authentically, guided by the principles of integrity, compassion, and empathy. For in the end, it is our ability to navigate the complexities of the human experience with grace and humility that defines us as individuals and, ultimately, shapes the course of our lives.